after the first 20 minutes to go to breakout sessions. The same housekeeping guidelines are in effect, so if you haven't done so already, please silence your cell phones. Each time we introduce a new dais up here, Kentucky or Auburn, please identify yourself and your affiliation the first time you ask a question. Please wait until one of our two mic holders are with you to ask a question. To get into the rotation, get their attention or mine. If you have a follow-up question, remind the mic holder so he or she stays with you. There is no flash photography allowed, nor recording of any kind, including cell phone and tablet use. Today's sessions are being transcribed by ASAP Sports to my right. You'll find those in the media workroom afterwards. And as a reminder, we're going to start off with 5 student athletes and the head coach per school. After 20 minutes or fewer minutes, the student athletes will be dismissed, but the head coach will stay for another 20. So remember that the student athletes will only be up here for a while. The coach will be up here for another 20 minutes after they leave and ask your questions accordingly. Thank you for your cooperation. As advertised, the Kentucky Wildcats are here. First, head coach John Calipari sits right to my right. PJ Washington, Reed Travis, Tyler Hero, Keldon Johnson and Ashton Hagens represent the student body for Kentucky. We will not have an opening comment right now. We'll go straight to questions because these 20 minutes are really for the student athletes. The first question is going to be in the back, and we have one here on the aisle. Go, please.
I actually have a question for John. Sam Blum from AL.com. I'm curious, over here, you know, a lot of these guys were recruited by Auburn, and they knew Chuma Okeke, and obviously what happened to him yesterday was difficult. Just
raise your hand. Who's talking?
Right here. Sorry.
Thank you.
Just if you had any message to the guys who maybe knew Chuma or even to this team when something like that happens.
You know, we were all like, you know, you shake your head as a player. You know, that's out there. You know what I'm saying? So every one of us makes you physically ill. You know, this is a sport that happens at times, and you don't want to see it happen to anybody. And the crazy thing is, you know, not only is their team playing as well as any team in the country right now, they're beating people by 25. Not only is that the case, he was playing as though he was their best player, which he probably was. So it's, I feel bad for him. I feel bad for his family and his teammates.
Nancy Armour with USA Today. This is for Cal and for PJ. PJ, first of all, how's the foot feeling today? And does your presence up here indicate that you're going to be starting tomorrow?
I don't know if I'm going to start, but I'm definitely feeling good. Got a good night's rest, got some treatment going, and I'm just feeling a lot better.
I asked him at halftime, do you want to start? He said, no, I'm good. Let me come off the bench. I said, okay. You know what's great about it? This group of players that are here, even Mr. Hagens down the other end. You know, they're gym rats. I mean, you know, PJ and I were talking about it. It's, you know, what made you do it? He said, I love playing. I love competing. I love, you know, and you look at Reed in here in the gym all the time, Tyler and Keldon, and they're gym rats. They love this. They love the game. They love making plays. They're a pleasure to coach. I told them they added years to my life coaching this team. Well, maybe not Keldon, but the rest of them have. I'm just teasing Keldon.
Right here on the aisle, third row.
Hi, Reed. John Huang, NOLA Media. You're sitting up there on the podium, and it literally and figuratively is the biggest stage in college basketball right now. How's it feel to be just one game away from being able to get home to Minneapolis and play a Final Four in your hometown? I mean, that's really like living the dream for you. Can you kind of express to us your emotions, your thoughts, the blessings you feel for being in that position?
Yeah, like you said, just being one game away from beating the Final Four and back home. I'm really excited for it, but no more than any other game. I'm trying to just take the preparation the same way, just approach it like any other game. I feel like if you look at it too much as far as trying to go home and kind of put all that on it, that's just too much weight on it. So for me, it's just trying to approach it the same way, just enjoy it with my teammates, and just try and go out and work as hard as I can in the game.
Who has a question? Back there.
Hi, Megan Ryan with the Minneapolis Star-Tribune. Tyler, I have a question for you. Obviously, you guys played a few games without PJ, who's one of your top players. Now Auburn is kind of facing the same thing with one of their top players in Okeke. How did you guys, I guess, rally around that? And do you kind of expect Auburn to do the same thing in the situation they're in?
Yeah, I think they'll still be ready. You know, they're playing, like Coach said, as hard as any team in the country. So I think they'll, you know, still come out, play their game, and I think they'll be ready to go.
Right back here on the aisle. Thank you.
PJ, if there's one person's story that is better than Reed's, it could possibly be yours, to be able to come back for a second year and then overcome the injured foot that you have, and now being playing for the Final Four. What are your thoughts about that, and what would you like to say to the people now that you're up there on the stage?
It's just a lot of hard work we all put in as a team, and it's just finally paying off. And we got one more game to prove how good we are. So, I mean, we're just kind of trying to come out tomorrow and look out to play tough and how we've been playing the rest of the season. I feel like if we do that, we'll be fine, and our goal is to win the whole thing. So, I mean, that's always the back of our minds.
We're in the back. Thank you.
Lane Higgins, The Wall Street Journal. Given that the last time you guys played Auburn, it was a huge blowout win for you, how much confidence does that give you going into this game, knowing that it's more of a known entity and that you've been able to beat this opponent by a sizable margin before?
Let me say something, because I watched that tape. They haven't watched the tape. I watched it. Matter of fact, I watched it twice. We made more threes than we've made most of the season. PJ made 5 himself. You ready for this? Ashton had 4. You hear what I just said now? And so all of a sudden, you know, we have a lot of threes that we normally didn't make, which was the difference in the game. And they missed a lot of shots. But when I watched the game, it was close for a while, and all of a sudden PJ went corner, PJ went top, PJ went wing, and all of a sudden we're up 12. And then it kind of got away because they missed some shots. Here's what happened. Reed didn't play in that game. The rim was protected by both Nick and EJ. They wanted EJ a little bit, but Nick went in. We blocked shots. We made those tough, and that's what happened. But it's they've won 11 games in a row. I mean, the game has no bearing on this game. It really doesn't.
This is for Callan, for any of the players. You guys have beaten Auburn twice this season. How difficult is it to beat a team 3 times in one season, and why?
We're going to have Keldon answer this, then Ashton, and come back to the head coach.
You know, we played them twice already. You know, they're a very good team. Knowing that we playing them a 3rd time now, they're gonna come out, give us their all. So we can't take nobody for ease. So we just got to go out there, play together, and stay as a team.
I mean, just to piggyback what he said, we just got to come in focused and ready to play. We can't be thinking about the last 2 times we played them. They're hot right now, and they're playing really good. So we just got to come in focused and ready to go.
You know, it's funny. Fate has intervened for this team where we thought it was bad. Reed went down, and he and I went to church together because we were worried. Believe me. And it didn't turn out that way, but it gave Nick and EJ a chance to play. Then they tell me he hurt his foot at the Tennessee game. I said, when? The last play. What? He's not playing for a while. What? Now all of a sudden we get to play Keldon at 4. We get to put Jamal Baker and get him minutes. And all of a sudden it kind of plays out. In our conference tournament, we had our chances to beat Tennessee. And if we had beaten Tennessee, we would have played Auburn. I'm not sure anyone's ever beaten a team 4 times. So when you ask me about 3, I'm just happy it wasn't 4. So we're playing them a 3rd time. It's going to be a really hard game. They're playing out of their minds right now. They're shooting balls. They're playing loose. They're playing aggressive. We know. And those other 2 games have no bearing on this game.
We are halfway through the session. We have 1, 2, 3 questions up. Go, please.
Yeah, this is for Reed. Eric Olson with the AP. I ask you this because you're the old guy up there. You know, when you saw Tyler come in, I know that you both are here first year for both of you, but when you saw him come in, what did you see in him? Did you think that he'd be as impactful as he's been this season? And if so, what did you see that made you think that?
Yeah, I'd say the biggest thing that I saw in him early on was just his confidence. And I think a lot of guys you can see have confidence but don't necessarily put the work in. But for Tyler, that's not the case. You see him in the gym every night, every morning, putting up reps, putting up shots. So you know that he's going to shine in these moments. So I think it's special when he gets his opportunity. It's usually in just because you see him every night, every morning, putting up reps. So I say that's the biggest thing that it's been cool to kind of see is just his progression throughout the season, is just how consistent he's been with his work behind closed doors when people don't necessarily see it. So then when he gets on the biggest stage, he's calm, collect, and he's always confident to take those shots.
On the left-hand side, Dennis.
Dennis Dodd, CBS Sports. John, considering what Auburn basketball was for decades and decades and decades, what kind of job has Bruce done, and what specifically has he done to get it to this level?
Well, he's gotten a program where people are absolutely excited. And, Sonny Smith back in the day had it rolling. He had that guy, what's his name, Charles, what's his last name? That big guy with the big head. What's his name? Oh, Charles Barkley. I peed on his statue down there, just so you know. But, when you take over, you have to change a culture, and he's done that. And, they struggled some in the middle of our league now. They lost a bunch of games, and it's tells you something. I always say, when things are going good, that's not coaching. When things are, it's looking bleak, and everybody's running, now let me see you coach. And let me see you do it when you're up against it, when people are doubting, when they're, the outside clutter is starting to overwhelm. How do you coach now? And, for him to do what he did in that stretch, and now they're 11 in a row, I'm telling you, there's no team in the country playing better than them right now. We have total respect and really good players who compete and play really hard.
John, what do you remember about Reed's recruitment when you heard he was going to be a grad transfer? And, when's the last time you coached a 30-year-old like Reed?
Yeah. It's funny, when I was with the Nets, I had a couple players that were older than I was when I was coaching. No, he and I have talked politics. Like, we talk, so what do you think of Amy? I was her neighbor. She may be a good president. We talk about Supreme Court justice stuff. Tell me what you think. But Kenny came to me, and I believe it was his brother saying, hey, he's thinking about doing this. And I remembered him when he played AAU basketball. And when Johnny got him to go to Stanford, I said, what a great get for Johnny. And Johnny and I have been friends for a long time, one of the great guys in our profession. So happy for the year they had. But then it became, okay, can we help him as he helps us? I'm not here to have a guy, play 10 minutes a game, or have a guy that we're just saying in case somebody gets hurt. That's not what this is about. And what I'm proud of, I'll tell him the story. He was 260-something, and I said, you got to lose 20 pounds. We can't you're going to have to move better, you're going to have to go quicker, you're going to have to. So he's down to 242, and he comes in, and we're talking, and I said, maybe 5 more pounds. I said, what's your body fat? He said, 4%. I went, 4%? You'd have to give up a kidney. You kidding me? And the pleasure for me has been, he's also in the gym as much as these guys. He's also takes care of his body in the training room, stretching, coming over in the mornings at night. And, how about yesterday? He got 11 rebounds, and they were tough, fought. He only took 2 shots and never said a word. He was happy as heck. Happy as heck. That's what it means to play here. Now, my hope is he has 20 tomorrow. But if he gets 20 rebounds, I'll be just as happy. And you know what? So will he. They trapped him on every chance he had. He didn't have a chance to shoot balls. They trapped him. So he just played the game as it came. Every one of these kids, and I tell them all the time how much I respect them and what they have to deal with, the clutter, what's at stake, how they have to deal with this. It's like PJ playing. I told him, I respect you, man. And he's commenting, I love this, coach. Are you kidding me? I love competing. And so for Reed and how it ended up playing out, it's not done yet. It's not done. He has absolutely helped our team. And I believe he's helped himself, that he's gotten better. He's absolutely committed. And going forward, any team that drafts him will be calling me saying, I can't believe it. Cannot believe it. This is the greatest thing. And we've had guys in the league like that where they'll call and say, it's unbelievable, Shea Alexander. Like they should be rookie of the year. Should be rookie of the year. He's leading them starting in Clippers, and they're calling, and Sam Cassell called me yesterday about him. Like, this kid's unbelievable. It'll be the same with him.
We have 4 minutes to go in the session. Before we dismiss the student athletes, we have a question in the back, 2 on the side, and 1 more back there. We'll try to get to you. Go.
John Clay, Lexington Herald leader. For Reed, I mean, obviously you guys have played Auburn a couple of times. You know pretty much everything about them. They know pretty much everything about you. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Yeah, I mean, you could take it either way, but for us, like you said, when you've played a team as much as we have with Auburn, it really just comes down to fight and how hard we play, and that's been a message all season. We can watch as much film and X and O as much as we want, but if the effort's not there, if the fight's not there, it all doesn't matter. So I think that's going to be the same thing tomorrow. Just got to bring fight and just energy, and that should be what will help us win the game.
This is for any of the non-30-year-old youngins over there. What is having an older player like Reed on the team? What has that done for you guys, just to have that leadership, I guess, and what have you learned from him?
Tyler, please.
It's great to have a veteran like Reed on the team, someone that we can look up to. Obviously, you know, he's been through a lot, so whenever we need advice or anything like that, we can go to him. But like Coach said, he's in the gym doing, you know, all that, so it's something like that, we can just follow him. So, I mean, you know, obviously it's just great to have someone like that.
There was a really nice feature article put out on Tyler in the Bleacher Report a couple weeks ago. Tyler, I asked you if you had read it last week. You said you had. And I was wondering if any of you up there, including you, John, have read that article.
I think I glanced. What did I tell you about that when you and I talked?
Not to read it.
Don't read it. It's poison. Don't read it. Season's over. Read it then. Don't read it now.
Tyler,
Did any of you guys read it? Cal, did you read it? You read it, didn't you? You read it.
Tyler, you're up there on the big stage now. What do you want to say to all your haters out there? This has got to be very, very redemptive for you.
Who's hate? Why would you say that? Who hates you?
Nobody hates me.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about.
Reed, so given that Kentucky is a place that's kind of known for having one and dones, you kind of had your own way of doing that this year when you came as a grad transfer. So what about Kentucky drew you to the program, and why did you pick that school as a destination?
Yeah, I'd say you hit it right on the head with that. As far as just being able to prepare a player in 1 year for what they want to do, getting a collective group of guys that have never played with each other in 1 year, you got to accelerate the process to win at a high level, and then to get in the right shape to play beyond college. I felt like it was the great option for me. Obviously, I'm a different kind of one and done as far as I already had 4 years in college and then coming here for my 5th year. But I felt like it was the best spot for me as far as coaches and the players that were already established here. So it's a great spot, and I feel like it's done everything that I needed it to do.
Final question for this 20-minute session. Go.
This question's for the bucket. I know you all aren't supposed to read the clutter, as Cal says, but your phone had to have blown up last night. All the former players tweeting about you. What was it like when you finally got your phone after hitting the big shot?
I didn't read anything, really. I don't know.
Okay, at this point, we're going to excuse the student athletes to go to their breakout sessions. We're going to sit here with Coach Calipari for 20 more minutes. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Best of luck tomorrow. 1:20 tip time with Auburn, CBS, Central Time.
Have a great day, Coach. Make sure you shoot the half-court shot straight.
We're here 1, 2, and back here 3. Go, please.
John Hell with the Courier-Journal. Cal, if I remember correctly, there was some confusion when you went to visit Tyler and offered him a scholarship about which recruit you were going to see that week. What made you get on the plane to see Tyler, and how did you?
Wait, well, I don't.
There was a report you might see Zion the same day, and you went to Milwaukee instead. I don't know if that was right or not, but what made you go to see Tyler and make that offer? What did you see there?
Well, again, you know, he was, when you're doing what I do, and as hard as this is here, and as much as you have to do in a short period of time, you don't have a whole lot of time for BS. You just don't. You have to keep it real. And the only kind of guys that really will be into that are the guys that really want to play for us and for me. And, you know, the word came back that that was the case with Tyler. So I flew up, let me meet him, let me meet his family. Watched him a little bit. I'd seen him in the summers, but he had committed to Wisconsin, so we really never really followed him that way. And the more I was around him, you know, I said, you know, this kid reminds me of some of the guys we have. I didn't know that he worked the way he did. His work ethic is unbelievable, and Reed said it right. He has a confidence, but it's not fake. I've had guys that, you know, you've had to explain what it means to be fake confident. Like, you know, your swagger's fake. You haven't earned it. You haven't worked for it. You haven't done enough things to have that, and you're acting like you have it. This guy's earned his stripes, and you know, we've been blessed. I mean, you think about him and Jamal Murray late, Shea late. I mean, we've been guys that have been late coming to us that have been vital to what we're doing. And not every kid wants to play here. They don't. I mean, and that's fine. I mean, it's not the right place for everybody. But if you really want to get after this and you want to see how good I can be, you want to learn to be a great teammate, you know, I always say we probably have more volume shooters in the NBA that played for us than not even close probably. They weren't volume shooters here. Anthony Davis is going back and forth texting me yesterday after the game. And here's a kid that, you know, wasn't a volume shooter. He shoots every ball now. But, you know, you can do that, but you learn to win, to be a great teammate, to do it together, to sacrifice, you know, to serve your teammates, to be that servant leader. And he's learned it. You know, we just told him, you're not coming here to be a jump shooter. You're going to learn to play basketball. You're going to be able to get to the rim. You're going to create fouls so you can shoot free throws. You're going to defend. If you don't guard, I'm not leaving you in the game. And if you remember the Bahamas, he couldn't keep anybody in front of him. Now, all of a sudden, he's like one of our defenders that you go to.
Right-hand side, John.
John, how would you characterize your relationship with Bruce Pearl, and has it changed over the years from your time at Memphis and his at Tennessee?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think there's respect between us. I mean, I really respect what he does and how he coaches his kids and how he builds a culture. And, you know, I think sometimes you're at places it's hard to have a relationship. The Memphis thing kind of bothered him because we were at Memphis and he was at Tennessee. They were the big state school, and we were in that little corner over there, and, you know, we were getting a lot of play, and it probably bothered him some. But, you know, even then, I mean, what he did there, you know, have respect for him.
Right here.
John, off topic, there's already almost 500 transfers this year. Last year, there were like 800. Last 2 years, there were about 800 apiece. Number one, why do you think that's out of control, if it is? Number two, do you think kids should be able to transfer without sitting out if the coach got fired or goes to a bigger job?
I haven't dealt with a lot of transfers in our program. We've had a couple. The crazy thing is I've stayed in touch with them just as much as kids that have played in our program or stayed 4 years. I would tell you that if a coach is fired or leaves, the kid should have the ability to do what he wants. That's my opinion. I also think they're talking about kids not having to sit out. And the one thing that happens is you probably can't lie to them in the recruiting process. If you lie, and they know you lied and you didn't do what you said you were going to do, they're going to transfer. So if you're telling them you're going to start, you're going to play 30 minutes, everything's going to run through you, and you're telling every player that, Now, all of a sudden, there's 3 of them that aren't going to be happy because it's not true, and they leave. May do that. I don't know, haven't spent a whole lot of time on it, but I do know that when they are moving from team to team, they're going from high school to prep school, they're going to another prep school, it's probably not the best environment. And the one thing that it's hard for these kids is when you keep it real, they've got to, when I'm evaluating a player, I want to see when he's not at his best. Let me see him now. Let me see when he's not at his best what he looks like. And for a kid really to make it, in my mind, they have to face adversity and deal with it. They have to have been beaten out. Well, what do? You run, or you say it's not acceptable. I'm going to keep competing, and I'm going to go beat him out. Or someone else is working harder. So now you leave because you're not willing to spend that kind of time in the gym, and you're making every excuse. You're being enabled by people around you. I mean, I think the kids need to face adversity before they leave our campuses so that they have a chance to make it. If they've been able to do whatever they want and then they think they're going into that man's world, NBA stands for no boys allowed. No boys allowed. That's a man's world. And so I think our kids, there's adversity at every step, I would hope. And we're holding them accountable. I'm not, I'm on PJ as much as I'm on Reed and much as I'm on Keldon, and trying to hold them accountable.
Rick Bozich, WDRB in Louisville. You've said for several weeks now this team has added years to your life. Why has this team been so much fun to coach, and can you give several examples?
Well, one of the things that this team is they love being in the gym, and they're great kids. They've come from great homes, which means they're willing to sacrifice. They're willing to be about each other. And then the third thing is they're skilled basketball players. It's really fun to coach players that can bounce it, shoot it, have a feel for the game, that have a competitive spirit, that have a will to win. You're not going to win every game. You're trying to. You're trying to win every single game you play, but you don't. And at the end of the day, you just want to be able as a coach to say, every one of these kids has gotten better. Every one of the kids has improved their skills. But they have to have a basis of that. And this team did. And every day, whatever we challenged them with, they were fine. Never have gotten too high. They've never gotten too low. This has been one of those years that you go through one of these years, you think you can coach another 20. And then you go through other years and you say, why am I still doing this? This is crazy. But this is, this is a good group.
John, Daryl Bird with the Cats Paws in Lexington. Reed was talking about finding a place where he had 1 year where it's accelerated. He could do what he needs to do. How do you accelerate that process every year without cutting corners, or do you have to let some stuff go?
There's no BS. We don't have time for BS. I'm going to tell you the truth. We're going to keep it real. If you don't guard, you're not playing. If you fall behind, you fall behind. I'm playing other people. We're here playing, trying to win. We hold them accountable statistically. Rebound attempts. Every one of them knows what their rebound attempts are. If your rebound attempts are low and you're not rebounding, I'm playing somebody else. That's effort. That's energy. You're responsible for that. I'm not responsible for that. The other thing becomes, when they come here, we're telling them, you're not going to take 25 shots a game because you got a team full of guys that are trying to eat too. Now, you may take 25 in a game. I think Malik Monk had 47 in a game. I would have let him score 57 if he could have. But that's in one game. That's not a season where you're shooting every ball. And, again, there's some that don't want to hear that. Some families that don't want to hear that. And so this becomes, we're in this together. We're all going to eat. This has never hurt anybody. Number 1 pick, Karl Towns, played 21 minutes a game. Devin Booker, I think he's still mad at me, didn't start. Had 59 and 50 in back-to-back games in the NBA. Didn't start. Never said one word. All he did is came every day like Tyler Hero and practiced and put time in the gym. Unbelievable. Anthony Davis took the 5th most shots on our team, was the number 1 pick. It doesn't matter here. Numbers don't matter. And so, you know, but again, numbers matter to some kids and families, and I want more numbers. And here it's, you know, putting yourself in a position to have success. And I don't think you can just say numbers. I don't think it is. But like I said, we've had a lot of people do well. A lot of people score well and rebound well and do well, but it's a group of them.
We have 8 minutes to go. We have 4 questions up. Go, please.
John, you frequently say to Kentucky fans, you people are crazy. And after last night, they're probably saying the same thing about you. The reality,
Why?
Well, the reality is that
What did I do last night?
a lot of head coaches end up losing their jobs because the last shot doesn't go in. And so everything seems so random in these tournament games. How do you sleep at night knowing that the entire collective hopes of Big Blue Nation is kind of resting on your decisions in the huddle, and if PJ doesn't block the shot and Tyler doesn't hit the three, then you're going home?
First of all, my mother, before she passed away, used to say, "How do you do this?" She goes crazy watching the game. She did go crazy. Well, first of all, I'm focused on what I'm doing, and I don't look at this as life or death. Because if you look at this as life or death, you die a lot. And so this is what I do, trying to help these kids be the best they can be, put them in the best position to win, and be about them. That's what I try to do. I don't take this personal. I don't take it personal with another coach. And any time that ekes in, I don't coach as well. I'd like, if the other coach wants to make it personal with me, I'm fine. Then he won't coach as well. And so, you know, the fans want to win every game, and the Kentucky fans have been great to me. You know, I tell them they're crazy. They watch tapes, and they'll watch the game 3 times. I watch it twice. They watch it 3 times. They're crazy. But they love it. They're invested in it. They see these players as their own children and grandchildren. It's a unique and special place. It really is. There's no place like this school that I'm coaching at.
Hey, John, how are you?
Good, Hoops.
What do you think about agents having access to elite college players, and is there a better way?
I bet there's going to be access to high school players.
Yeah.
So I don't know where that goes yet. We're trying to all figure it out. But they're going to be able to talk. A high school player will be able to have a relationship with an agent that, as long as there's nothing signed or nothing official, or, you know, I mean, that's part of where this is all going. So, again, as I go through this tournament, I'm not spending a lot of time on that right now, but that's going to be an issue.
In the back.
John, I'm wondering who you've had to tell that your swagger is fake. Who have you had to have that conversation with?
Do you want me to be honest?
Yeah.
With myself.
I mean, what are those conversations like though, with kids, and is that the type of stuff?
Are you spending time? Are you really spending time? I've had guys that their skill set, they were really struggling, but I'd come in the office at night, and it's 10:30, 11 o'clock, they're in the gym shooting, the next day in practice. I bring all the team in and said, the reason I'm sticking by my man, I came in last night, and I know he was 1 for 10 last game, but he was in this gym. I'm with him. As long as they're putting in the time and they're not, you know, I'm good with it. But you know, if you're not in there and you're not really trying to master your craft, if you're not trying to master your craft and you just want to play, just let me play. Just let me shoot more balls. If I, instead of shooting 10, you should have let me shoot 20, I could have got going. Well, what if you went 1 for 20? That's okay. Next game I'd make them. What? So mastering your craft in this sport that we play, it's everything. If you can't master your craft, which means, do you love the grind? Do you love being in the gym? Does that wake you up every day? Is that your solace? When you're feeling down, you go in and you get some shots up and you feel great leaving the building. As a coach, is it the same thing? You're down a little bit, you get in, you have a great practice, and it makes you feel great. If that's not your mentality, it's really hard to make it at this sport.
Back in the corner.
John, George Schroeder, USA Today. I wonder, kind of
Interested in the three as the shot of choice, and wonder what your thoughts are on building an offense around making that maybe the primary or the first option. And then does Auburn resemble anybody or remind you of anybody from your career?
Well, they do a lot of stuff that Wofford does. I mean, they're gonna shoot 33s. They shot, what, 37 last game? There's all kind of ways of doing this. And one of the ways is we're going to rely on three-point shooting. The other way of doing this, we're going to play basketball, and if they give us threes, we'll take them. If we're spaced out there, I think there's not a college coach right now that doesn't space to the three-point line, whether they shoot 33s or 23s. I mean, one of the best teams in the country, one of the best coach teams in the country was Tennessee. They shot about 18, 19 threes a game. Literally one of the best teams in the country. We played them, and they were wars. They were veterans. They didn't turn it over. They created good shots. They moved the ball. They would guard, physical, and they only took 18, 19 threes. So there's all kind of ways of doing this. Bruce, here's the other. If you have really good shooters, why wouldn't you do it? And he has really good shooters. They shoot them, 25% of them are in transition. Another 30% of them are on pick and rolls, and the rest of them are off drives and extra passes and, finding an extra man.
Anything else for the head coach of Kentucky? Last question. Go.
John Clay, Lexington Herald leader. John, in Jacksonville, even with PJ hurt, people remarked about you seem to be in a really good mood.
Who?
You. The same thing.
I'm miserable right now.
Same thing here. I mean, did you know something we didn't know, or is it just that, as you said earlier, you really enjoyed coaching this team?
I think most postseasons, the season is the grind of it. When you're here, you have a ball with this. Somebody asked me the other day about, was it a relief to win? I don't know where I was. No. If winning becomes a relief, you're in the wrong profession. It's time to retire. Winning is fun. It's fun for these kids. You see them come together and the joy it brings because of all the hard work and everything they did together. The NCAA tournament for me personally is the greatest. You follow us. Everything we do all year is geared towards March. Every game we play, every preparation, I want to play teams that play different ways. Shoot threes, don't shoot threes. 1-3-1, 2-3 zone, press us, hold the ball, backdoor us, Princeton. We want to face it all, so if we face it here, we're ready for it. So this is why we do what we do, is to get into this time of the year and try to keep your team going.
Thank you, John.
Thanks.
Good luck. Auburn is due up at 3:40 sharp. 3:40 for everyone here and the head coach. 3:40 to 4 o'clock is the student athletes of Auburn. Head coach Bruce Pearl is going to sit in, and then he'll have his 20 minutes. Bryce Brown, Jared Harper, Anthony McLemore, Malik Dunbar, and Horace Spencer represent the student body for the Tigers. We'll go right to questions. We have 20 minutes for the student athletes before they go to breakouts, and then coach will stay with us for another 20. First question is, where? Right back there. Thank you.
Bruce, can you give us the latest on Chuma Okiki?
I think it was supposed to be for the student.
Well, you can answer some. Go ahead.
Okay. Chuma has a torn ACL, and he's scheduled to have surgery on Tuesday with Dr. James Andrews.
Oh, I'm sorry. Right here in the second row.
Yeah, I mean, Aaron Matus, the WDRB in Louisville. Bryce, I see you shaking your head. I guess just what's it like dealing with the emotions of hearing that news, trying to get up for this game and everything you guys are dealing with right now?
I don't know. It's just hard to take in. I mean, Chuma, I don't feel like Chuma deserves that at all. He works so hard, spends so much time in the gym and making sure his body is right. But I mean, it's our jobs to pick him up, lift him up, encourage him, and all we're gonna do at this point is go out there and play for him. We're gonna use it as motivation, and hopefully we can do this for our boy.
Let's get a second answer to that one. Jared, why don't you chime in on the injury?
I think it's tough to lose Chuma. Like I said yesterday, I feel like he's our most valuable player for our team. Just all the things that he's able to do in the court, guard 1 through 5, be able to shoot from perimeter, score inside, and just do all those things. So I know we're gonna get that production of all those things that he did from all of us. It's gonna take all of us, not just one single person.
Right here in the aisle. Thank you.
This is for Bryce. Bryce, I'm Mark Story from the Lexington Herald Leader. When you guys lost in Rupp Arena, and it was your 9th loss, how close did you guys think your season was to, sort of, coming apart or not making the tournament? And what did Coach Pearl do to, sort of steady the ship and get it going in the right direction?
We knew they played really well, so we didn't let that get to us mentally. We knew after that game what we needed to work on, and I felt like ever since then we worked on those things. And Coach challenged us a little bit to work on those things, and I feel like ever since then we've been clicking and rolling. So I never had this part of the Elite 8 in doubt, Sweet 16 in doubt, Final Four in doubt, national champion. I never had that in doubt. Always believed in my team. Yeah.
Brian Milam, WKYT in Lexington, and this is for Jared, any of the players really. Have you ever been on a team that has been so red hot the way you guys are right now?
Well, have Jared start, and Anthony, please chime in as well.
I just think as we started the season, we were winning games. We knew we weren't playing our best basketball. Then we went through a period where we lost a couple games, and we still weren't playing our best basketball. But as a team, and as Coach Pearl did, we had to figure out a way to be playing our best basketball around this time when it's most important. So that's just a tribute to all my teammates and all the work that we put in, and just staying together during the whole time.
Piggybacking off what Jared said, I believe that we may have been spoiled early in the season from the previous year's success, but coming from the Kentucky loss, there was a point in the locker room where we just felt like we were tired of losing. So the atmosphere changed, and all the guys became locked in and ready, and we was more engaged and more ready to take on the rest of the season.
Joseph Goodman with AL.com. This question is for everybody. You guys have beaten Kansas, North Carolina, and now you have a chance to beat Kentucky, and these are the all-time winningest programs in college basketball. Were any of you guys recruited by any of those 3 schools?
Horace, you're first. Malik, you're second. Jared, you're third.
Nah, me personally, I wasn't recruited by any of those schools, but I feel like
everybody's beatable, and we can come to the game tomorrow, be ready to play. You know what I'm saying? We play good team defense as a unit and build and prosper in that area.
I wasn't either. I only had here in Ole Miss. It was my two biggest offers, so I'm just ready to play whoever they put in front of us. I'm just ready for the opportunity and blessed for the opportunity.
No, I wasn't recruited by any other schools. I think Chuma was he was recruited by Kansas, but I don't know about any other schools. But I don't think we really take that too personal. We felt like that we're all good players. We've all been good players and have a great coach that believes in us here at Auburn. It was a perfect situation for all of us, so I know we're just happy to be here.
Bryce, Anthony?
No, I wasn't recruited at all.
Bryce, Anthony, go ahead.
No, I wasn't recruited by any of those.
That doesn't mean you guys have no lack of confidence. Bryce, talk about the amount of confidence that you guys have, built up over this past 11-game win streak. Thanks.
I just feel like it just goes back to having that chip on our shoulder. Once we took a few L's midway through the season in SEC play, I felt like it wasn't the worst thing that happened for us. I feel like it opened our eyes, woke us up a little bit, and realized what our main focus needed to be. And we got that chip back on our shoulder. We became more of the underdogs, and that's when I feel like we're at our best, and that's how it's gonna be from here on out.
Megan Ryan with the Minneapolis Star-Tribune. Jared, a question for you. Obviously, you guys have been on this red-hot streak. That's got to be kind of an emotional high. Then to have Chuma's injury is pretty shocking for you guys. How have you, I know it's kind of sudden, but how have you handled that emotional roller coaster, and how would you describe the mood of this team right now?
I think last night after the game it was a little bit tougher than it is on us right now. I think this is just another reason for our team to come even closer. Last year, we faced a lot of adversity with a lot of stuff going on, so that brought our team closer. And then Anthony went down with the injury last year. That brought our team even closer. And then for this to happen, it brings our team even closer again. So just knowing that we know that we are all we got, that we're always going to have each other's backs is always there.
To the players, any of you, what do you take away from the first time you played Kentucky to the second time you played Kentucky until now? Can you take anything away from those two previous games?
We're going to start with Horace, and then we're going to work our way left. Horace, start us.
They're a great defensive team, and P.J. Washington is a pretty good force of nature on both sides of the court, offensive and defensively. And Tyler Hero is a pretty good offensive player as well. So I feel like us as Auburn, we got to play good collective team defense and cut off their water inside and just do our jobs, just to do what we can to stop those two players, because they're the primary sources of offense.
So the same with Horace said. They're a great defensive, great rebounding team. They play fast. They got some good guys. We just understand we got to stop them. Play hard. Understand our coverages. Just play together.
You just got to limit their impact in transition. They're very talented, so they get out on the break and get a lot of stops defensively, and they play fast. So we got to make sure we build a wall in transition and limit the amount of easy points they get. Make sure we get back on the defensive end and also play well offensively.
I just think we just need to continue to do the things that we've been doing offensively and defensively. Being able to get into the lane, get people for open shots. We had 21 assists last night. That's a big thing. Coach wants us to look to force 20 turnovers and get 20 assists. That's like a goal for us going into games. So if we continue to do that, continue to play two halves of defense, I know we'll be good.
And they kind of said it all. Just doing what we do, playing to our strengths. Kentucky, they got us pretty good at their house, but that's when I felt like we weren't playing our best basketball, and we just got to continue to do what we're doing now, and that's competing on the defensive side of the ball and sharing the ball on offense.
Stay there. Yes.
Bryce, I'm curious, What do you think the role emotions are going to play in this game? Because just looking at Kentucky, they're maybe coming off a high. They've got Washington back, and they seem pretty upbeat about it. You guys obviously went through this hard injury with Chuma. How is that going to maybe play a factor in tomorrow's game?
Like I said earlier, I feel like it's gonna motivate us. Knowing that one of our soldiers aren't able to be out there and battle with us. On their side of the ball, I feel like Washington's kind of fresh, and he's probably just eager to get out there and just ready to compete. So we both have certain things that's gonna motivate us, but the better team wins. I feel like.
John Clay, Lexington Herald leader for Jared or Bryce. You guys have played Kentucky twice. You know each other well. You're in the same conference. You pretty much know everything about them. They know everything about you. Is that a good thing or a bad thing going into a game like this?
Jared, you're first, then Bryce.
I guess you can say I guess it's a good thing, but I also want to include that I feel like we're playing differently than we were at that point. I think we're playing better as a team, offensively and defensively, just getting contributions from everybody in our team. That wasn't always happening before, but when we're able to get those contributions from everybody and do the things that we do, we're a better team.
Say your question one more time.
Yeah, how much does that help you or hurt you knowing Kentucky?
Yeah, I feel like both teams will be more prepared than the previous teams we face. We kind of know what they like to do. They know what we like to do. We know their tendencies, and same with them. So it's just going to come down to who's playing the hardest and who's making shots and who's defending.
Anything else for the student athletes of Auburn? Yep. Follow up right here on the aisle.
Jared, your matchup with Ashton Hagans, what do you remember from the first two games, and what do you have to do to keep him under control?
First of all, he's a great player. He's a great defensive player. He does a good job of running their team. I don't know if it's going to be personally me against Ashton. That's not what I'm looking into. I don't think that's what our team is looking into. We're going to think of more of Auburn against Kentucky. It's a team game. It's going to take a team effort to stop him and stop all the great players that they have.
Go on the right.
You guys have hit so many three-pointers. And Coach gives you so much freedom to shoot. Is there such a thing as a bad three-point shot from you guys?
Bryce and Jared, please.
And Horace.
And Horace.
I knew you were going to say that.
Coach gives us a lot of confidence. He wants us to feel free out there, just unless we're playing for him hard on the defensive side of the ball. He typically doesn't mind the type of shots we take, just unless they're in the rhythm of the offense and not just jacking up crazy shots. But definitely, he likes us to take shots within the offense, and feel like that's kind of it. Yeah.
I feel there is a such thing as a bad three, but BP as a coach, he doesn't really get on us too much about bad shots. He'll get on you more about what you do defensively. If not making plays defensively, that's what he'll get on you more about. So that's definitely a focus.
I got a quote from Coach. He says, if you're open, shoot it. If you're not open, don't shoot it. So if I'm open, I'm going to shoot it.
On the left here, thank you.
This is for everybody. They're running out of toilet paper in Auburn with all these wins. What's it like being players? Looking back and seeing the campus celebrate, victory after victory here for you guys in the last 2 weeks.
And once again, Horace, lead us off, and we'll come left.
I mean, it feels good, It's bigger than basketball for us, really just doing it for Auburn, because, Auburn hasn't had a really winning historic program in basketball. Just to see how our fans reacting to us back home, all the love that we see on social media, because we're not there to really physically experience it. It really feels good just to see all the happy faces, all the smiles that we're bringing to Auburn. You feel me? It feels good that we're making this history as a family. Auburn is a family You feel me? Auburn family's a legit thing. If you see it or not, you got to be there to feel it. You got to be there to believe it. And I've been here for 4 years, so I really experienced it, and I really feel that everyone we do, everyone we get, you feel me? It just adds on to it. I mean, when we got back from SEC, it was probably like my first time really experiencing Rolling Tumors Corner personally. You know, it was really fun though.
Oh, it's the same thing. It's just a blessing. You know, I'm just thankful for all the fans that we got. And we really are a family. Like, everybody want to see us win. And all the support and the fans coming all the way up here to watch us play. You know, I'm just appreciative and thankful.
I just think it's great to be supported by the Auburn family. You know, they supported the program since Coach Pearl got here and watched us kind of change the narrative since we've been here from a losing program to a winning organization. And it's just great to go home and be supported by all everybody just waiting outside for us, and it just feels good.
Yeah, it's great just going off what everybody else said, just getting the support that we're getting from the Auburn community and just be able to do what we were able to do, continue to make history, continue to be an inspiration for kids and people that are younger. It's a blessing.
Yeah, same thing. It's just an honor to be able to represent Auburn. At the end of the day, our job is to represent Auburn the best we can. Anytime we're on the court, off the court, and so it just feels good that we have such a huge fan base, the student body, and people all over Auburn just always supporting us. And I feel like the love is really real. It's not fake at all. You see all the sports supporting us. We see it on social media, and you got to thank those guys. You got to thank the football team, women's basketball, soccer, everybody. They're all supporting us, and we definitely feel the love.
Gentlemen, great job. We're going to dismiss you now to go to breakout sessions. Congratulations on getting this far. Good luck tomorrow. We're going to stay here with Coach Pearl for a while longer. No, we need him tomorrow. First question's right here on the inside aisle. And go to.
Bruce, Jerry Tipton, Lexington Herald-Leader. How do you feel about the game boiling down to your team's three-point shooting perimeter game against Kentucky's power game?
Well, we got to be able to make some threes in order to win, and we've got to be able to somehow limit Kentucky's points in the paint and their domination on the offensive glass. We have, through much of the season, been a team that went as Jared and Bryce went. But in the month of March, it's been a team where even if one or both didn't have a great half or a great game, we could still win. And that's a sign of a team that's the sum of its parts are bigger than anything else. We play best when everybody contributes. And so I think for us to be able to have a chance against Kentucky, we're going to have other guys other than just Jared and Bryce play well.
Hey, Bruce. You have 9, 10 guys who can contribute in postseason. It seems like this league itself, aside from Kentucky and maybe a handful of kids who get ID'd by USA Basketball, has a lot of kids who are under the radar who grow into starring roles. And I'm wondering how that happens. I mean, are we just missing the boat with the Southern player who might not get the amount of publicity?
That's a great question, Dick. Summer basketball, call it AAU basketball, call it whatever you want to call it, gets a bad rap for everything. On Zion Williamson's team, there were some other players that were pretty good, and they're sprinkled throughout college basketball. I saw Jared and Udoka, he was with the Georgia Stars. Udoka was his big guy. Wendell Carter was his other big guy. And there were a handful of other players. And there was Jared as that point guard. And so I just think that there's so much more parity in college basketball because there are more good teams, both in high school and in the summer, where these other guys are also training at a higher level than maybe back in the day. Back in the day, it was clear who your all-state, first-team all-state guys were. They were all your USA basketball guys. But there's just now more to choose from. So that's why I think we're not really missing them. You still got to, still the tail of the tape. The guys with the big names, the big reputations, the big schools. When you see Kentucky take the floor against Auburn tomorrow, you'll see a difference in the tail of the tape. We'll be looking up to them at most positions. And that's why those guys play in a McDonald's game and our guys don't.
On the right. Bruce, how would you characterize your relationship with John Calipari, and has it changed much over the years from when he was at Memphis and you were at Tennessee?
Well, the first time I can remember really having much of a relationship with John, it was when he first got the UMass job. He had some guys on his staff that I had coached at Boston College, and we had some people that we both knew. I'd said it because I grew up in Boston, that what he did at UMass might have been one of the all-time greatest jobs in the history of college basketball. They weren't much before he got there. They were a Final Four team when he was there, and after he left, they've obviously not been the same. So got great respect for Coach Calipari. When he was at Memphis, I was at Tennessee, and Memphis, while it was a basketball powerhouse, was in the state of Tennessee and sometimes got overshadowed. Believe it or not, I was at the big school, and he was at the smaller school and playing in Conference USA versus the SEC, and so constantly looking for trying to be able to. He was the underdog in that regard, and we had some great battles. I would just say this. I think as far as the relationships involved, I've grown to respect him and appreciate the job that he does. I value the times I've been able to beat him, and I recognize there's probably not a coach that's beaten me more than him.
Hi, Bruce. Rick Bozich, WDRB in Louisville. You look at Kentucky, they don't have a Wall and a Cousins or a Davis or a Karl Anthony Towns. What do you see when you look at this team as opposed to some of the other teams he's had at Kentucky?
Well, P.J. Washington very easily could have been the National Player of the Year if Kentucky had won one or two more games. I mean, there was a time when he was Grant Williams was a great player for National SEC Player of the Year. If Kentucky had won our league, I would have thought that PJ should have gotten it. He's a dominating player. Great story of a guy that would have gotten drafted a year ago, but probably would have gotten in the second round and decided to come back. Wasn't afraid to work. He is so much better now. Explosive inside-outside game. He was the only player that Chuma Okeke faced all year long that you could say maybe got the edge on him. The only player. So I still see, I'll tell you what I see about Kentucky, and I don't mind saying this. John's been a master of taking incredibly talented kids who maybe had, because they were so talented, so thinking in an individual way, he had a job to blend that team in his locker room, egos, different things like that. Keldon Johnson cares about winning. So does Ashton Hagans. So does PJ. That whole team is bought into one thing, and that's winning. He's got kids of a character that care less about themselves and more about the team. I think he's probably enjoyed coaching this team more, and I think this team's been blessed more because of the way they've played, how hard they played. They bought in defensively. They play unselfishly. They play the game the right way. And he hasn't had a change. That MO came in recruiting. I know because I was probably the first guy to offer every one of those guys that I just told you about and lost every single one of them to Kentucky. Keldon Johnson, Ashton Hagan, E.J. Montgomery are all guys that I've known and recruited and at one time or another had committed.
Lexington Herald leader, have you let yourself think just the historic magnitude, significance of what beating Kansas, North Carolina, and Kentucky to go to a Final Four what that would say?
Well, I've certainly put that on the table for our team. And when we got our road to the Final Four, I told them, I said, what are we trying to do, guys? We're trying to make history. That's what the whole thing about Auburn. You heard that from these kids, how important it was to them to have Auburn basketball become credible. New Mexico State was as good at 12 as there was in the field, and we were the only one to survive that 5-12 matchup. And then to have an opportunity to get Kansas, North Carolina, and then maybe Kentucky, what a better way of having an opportunity to make history than to have that road to the Final Four. So we started talking about that as soon as the field came out. Because I think you've got to, as a coach, be able to show them a path to success. And so it's not looking past anybody. This is what it is. This is what we got to get through. What an incredible opportunity to go out there and make history. I think of all the matchups we've had, Kentucky is going to be the most difficult matchup. They're the most physical team in college basketball, offensively and defensively. They out-rebounded us by 19 the last time we played us, and Travis wasn't playing then. They're going to add him. We're going to subtract Chuma. We lost by 27 when we had Chuma and they didn't have him. It's a tough matchup for us. But obviously these guys see, and I see, things that we can do to be able to put ourselves in position to win a basketball game. It's going to take our best effort, without question.
Next two questions are here and here, then we'll go to Blair, and then we're going to get this gaggle on the left-hand side. Go, please.
Bruce, Rustin Dodd from The Athletic. Your players talked about the freedom you give them to shoot from the outside. Obviously, teams shoot more threes these days than they did 10 or 20 years ago. Has your feelings on that style of play evolved over the years during your career?
No, I think I've always been accused of living by it and dying by it and never quite understood what that meant. I mean, my teams have always either led the league in three-point shooting, makes, and percentage over the years. Look, there's a lot of contact in the game. What percentage should you shoot from the free throw line? It's an open shot. Whether it's contested or not, there's no contact. We don't shoot three balls where there's contact. We're shooting a shot where we're looking at the rim. We got the ball in our hands, and if we can do some things schematically to get him open with a late hand, what percentage should a good player be able to shoot that? I don't know why you wouldn't work for those shots, hunt for those shots. So I've always believed in it. Just because the Golden State Warriors have now figured it out, don't blame me. I've always shot the three ball. So it's been a big part of our offense. It helps spread the floor, just open the lane up a little bit if they got to guard you out there in the perimeter. Now, Kentucky's able to guard us. Why? Because they're long, they're athletic. That hand gets there faster, quicker, longer than most. But I do believe the fact that it's a non-contact shot doesn't get nearly enough conversation. We try to force people defensively to make tough twos. That's what that's what we try to force. So therefore, why would I create an offense that gives you a bunch of tough twos? The inside three-point shot's the best play in basketball. The open three-point shot behind the line is the second best play in basketball.
Bruce, Darryl Burr of the Cats Paws in Lexington. When they beat you guys in Auburn, you went into a little bit of a tailspin, lost 3 in a row, and then you played in Lexington, and they really handed it to you. Logically, you should have gone into a bigger tailspin, and instead you haven't lost since. What clicked at that moment? Why did you make that reverse?
Well, I think our guys recognized how well Kentucky played, and our hats were off to them. We went into that game in Lexington thinking we had a chance, and I told our guys, listen, I've brought teams in here before, no chance to win. It was just a matter of how badly we're going to get beaten. Not this team. I said, I think we got a chance to compete. Now, we were dominated. We were completely outplayed, but Kentucky played really well. We weren't awful, but they were great. And so I left the game, and I wanted our guys not to beat themselves up. That's a Final Four team, guys. That's what it looks like right there. This is the gap between us and them, 27 points right now. What do we need to do to close the gap? I wasn't mad at them. We got hit in the mouth, and we got beat up. But we didn't let it define us.
Blair Kirkhoff with the Kansas City Star. Bruce, when you left here last night, there was just some uncertainty about the severity of Chuma's injury. Could you just take us through what you learned and how you decided to present the team with the news?
Chuma came in at breakfast this morning after the guys had finished up. I think we all knew it was serious last night. I think the minute Chuma hit the floor and started pounding his fist on the ground, That was no sprain. And I think the reaction from all the guys is really unfair because he's such a great kid and such a hard worker, so humble. But he's got a big dream. And players like Chuma give teams courage and confidence. We're going to miss him tomorrow because we're going to have tough matchups. We lost every single matchup we had against Kentucky in Lexington, every one of them, from the bench to the players. But Chuma always give us a chance to win that matchup. So now he's going to be out for a while. He's going to rehab, and that's what God's plan was, and he's going to handle it. But we're all sad. We're heartbroken for him. There was no celebrating in our locker room last night because of his injury. At the same time, there's no time to celebrate. You know, we're looking at a tip in about 20 hours against probably the best team in the game in the country right now.
The next three questions are on the aisle, right down the aisle, 1, 2, 3, and then we have you as 4 and 5 is there. Go.
Bruce, John Hill with the Courier-Journal. From when you had him as a recruit to the 2 games you played to now, how have you seen E.J. Montgomery grow, and what can his potential still be?
After the game in Lexington, I gave John and his staff great credit that players do develop at Kentucky. I've seen E.J. grow. He's gotten bigger, stronger, tougher. Even though he plays sometimes a limited role in limited minutes, I think John's given him confidence to go to his strengths and not be afraid to fail. And I think John recognizes the upside that EJ has. So, you know, he's because he's gotten so much stronger physically. I think that's been a big part of his. And when you see him in a year from now, you'll see he can really do some things in the perimeter. He's a special passer. He's got a great future.
JoeGoodmanAO.com. For years, it was always Kentucky and everybody else in the SEC. The last few years, you know, you guys in Tennessee, regular season champs. This past year, LSU, you guys won the SEC tournament. Is that gap shrinking?
Well, I don't know whether it's shrinking, but I remember telling Commissioner Slive when I got to Tennessee that what I felt made the ACC what it wasn't just North Carolina and Duke. It was Gary Williams at Maryland. It was Skip at Wake Forest. It was when, you know, Paul had it going or Georgia Tech had it going, Bobby had it going at Georgia Tech. It was the depth and breadth of the conference that made the ACC so dominant. And so when I got to Tennessee, Billy was at Florida, Kentucky was Kentucky, and the rest of us were grasping for, you know, who was going to be the next team. That's not a great conference. Our conference was tremendous this year, top to bottom. Great coaches, fan bases were engaged, recruiting has improved. It's continuing to, and why not? Because if you look at the SEC, it's what we do in everything else, and it's not even close. And I'm talking about all sports, men and women. It's incredible, and not everybody likes it. How about last night in Kansas City when the SEC chant came out there? And that wasn't just Auburn fans chanting that. That was Kentucky fans. Now, maybe they'd rather play us than North Carolina. I can understand that. Oh, by the way, I want to go on the record for something. I wasn't recruited by North Carolina, Kansas, or Kentucky either. I want to go, no, none of you guys asked me that question. I want to go on record and say that. I'm a mutt, too.
Hi, Bruce. John Huang, NOLA Media. John Calipari said that when you lose one of your best players, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to advance in the tournament. Obviously, he was talking about P.J. Washington, but John's a smart guy. You're in that position now, so did you maybe think about forfeiting the game, or how realistically can you prepare in just this short time? What can you do?
Oh, no. Listen, we've got 9 players that are going to play tomorrow, and we're going to have to make some adjustments to how we play and what we do. But our guys are ready to be able to accept that challenge. We understand the enormity of the challenge, even if our roster was full and complete. So when you lose, as Jared said, our most valuable player, and for me, the guy that I would play call to match up, it's going to be an enormous challenge. But our guys are excited about it. Listen, they understand how good Kentucky is, and they understand what it's going to take. But there's confidence in our locker room. Horace Spencer, Anthony McLemore, D'Angelo Purifoy, Austin Wiley. That's our front line right now without Chuma. And those guys are all ready to step up. They're going to have to step up. or we won't be able to win.
We are under 5 minutes to go. It's a hard out with the satellite, so we got to go. You're next.
Lane Higgins, Wall Street Journal. So I've heard a rumor that your team is a little bit superstitious about your pregame meals, and you have a particular steakhouse that you go to before. So can you tell me a little bit about how that started and how you guys found a stand-in for Kansas City?
Well, they're undefeated when we kind of go to like hibachi-style Japanese steakhouses. That's what it is. And in Auburn, it's called Makata. That's our steakhouse there. And I was there the other day, as a matter of fact, and one of the servers, you know, the guy, it's dinner and a show, of course, you know, and of course our guys love the show as much as they love the dinner, but it's double everything. It's double rice, double meat, double this, double, because they want to eat it and they want to take it home, right? So I'm not sure if that's an extra benefit or not, but maybe it is. But we are undefeated eating at the Japanese Steakhouse the night before games. So tonight we'll be eating in a Japanese steakhouse someplace in Kansas City.
And both the times you played Kentucky were on the road, so you didn't eat at the steakhouse before that?
No, we played Kentucky at home, and we ate someplace else the night before.
Do you remember where it was?
And we played Kentucky, we ate in a hotel.
Okay, thank you.
We're under 2 minutes. Final question right here.
Bruce Aronmatis from WDRB in Louisville. You were really complimentary of Kentucky after the January game. I think you said that's a championship-type team. What specifically did you see then? And maybe how have you seen it evolve over the next 2 months?
Well, I think Kentucky's confident right now because they learned to play without PJ and they learned to play without Travis, and yet they still were able to advance. And I just think they've got a confidence. We're playing better now, but so are they, and they obviously know it. I was just impressed with their team. I was telling people to buy Kentucky early on in the season. I've seen them play. I know how physical they are. They play their game the right way. Look, defense and rebounding win championships, and it's probably the best defensive and rebounding team in the country. Last night's game against Houston was as physical and tough a game as you would have possibly, strength on strength. And so, you know, for me personally, it was a little easier going up against a Kansas or North Carolina who don't see me all the time. John's seen me for many, many years, and every now and then, you know, when you are we're talented, but when you may not be as quite talented, sometimes you got to have some things up your sleeve. I've played a lot of cards. I don't know how many more cards we have to play, but these guys believe, they know what we need to do to have a chance to win. And I'm going to one more thing. I'd prefer to be playing somebody else other than the SEC. But one of the things I am glad is the SEC is going to have a team in the Final Four, and I'm really glad about that because this league has worked really hard to get better and gain some respect in the game of college basketball, and I'm glad that Auburn is a small part of that.
Thank you, Bruce. Best of luck.